Hey, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon.
Good evening, Vivek.
Good morning, yes.
Hi, Vivek. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, good morning. Any questions so far?
Not from me, Vivek.
Okay.
Good evening, Vivek. Sai here.
Hi, good morning, Sai.
Thank you. So, Vivek, yesterday I tried that quiz and I have a question regarding that. Is it
Okay.
the right time to talk or shall we discuss it after on the next session?
No problem, but if there is a one question, we can take it now also.
Yeah. So,
Which one you did tried? Which one you tried? Sai?
you on the quiz three.
Which three? Okay, what we covered yesterday. And
Yeah. Yeah.
okay,
Let
okay.
me.
I will say hold on because other people might have not attempted it.
No, the basic thing, yeah, I don't want to discuss the question right here, but there was a question. Okay, let's discuss it after everybody
No,
attends.
no issues. Let's understanding concept is not a problem. You can.
It's not the concept. I found a different answer in our handout, and when I gave the exact answer in the handout, it came as wrong. So
Oh, really?
that's So that's the you know concern I have. No worries.
Okay.
Let it complete and we will discuss on that.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so let's get started. I have some project progress reports which we discussed yesterday to share with you, but let me complete time management first, and then I will share those some progress status report or dashboard, whatever you can say. We'll share a couple of them, and then we will move to cost management. Okay. So this is just to recap on what we covered yesterday, that we prepare a schedule management plan where we define that what tools we are going to use, how we will identify our activities, what is the method we will use for preparing a network diagram, and similar things in the management plan, which will define that how we're going to prepare the schedule and control it. Okay, then we talk about that when we have work package, how to define activities which need to be performed to complete the work package. Once we have identified the activities, we identified their dependencies and prepare a network diagram. In the network diagram, we also learn about leads and lags. It's not about only dependencies of finish to start, start to start, and finish to finish, but lead and lag as well. Lead means the dependency is not completed, but the successor is started. And the lag means the dependency is completed, but we are still waiting to start the successor because of some external reasons. Okay, so that is with this we prepare a network diagram, and once the network diagram is there, we move to identify the resources. So we look at the activity, we see that what kind of skills are required, what is the availability of the resources, and based on that we estimate that what resources are on this activity, and based on that we estimate duration. So we talk about couple of methods for activity duration estimate. One was the expert judgment, which is normally happen if you don't use any other method. Another analogous means you have executed a similar project in past and you are using the historical data of that project to estimate the new project. We talk about parametric estimates. Parametric estimates, that means that we analyze several projects in past which are executed to derive a formula or some figure and use that to estimate our new project. Okay, and another one which we discussed about is the PERT estimate. That is 3-point estimates, and this 3-point estimate means we estimate the most likely condition, optimistic condition, and pessimistic condition, and then we take a calculated weighted average of these three figures, and this will give us estimates as well as a range in which the activity can finish. Okay, and we did an exercise on this. And now, because every information which we require to develop a schedule is there, we develop the schedule and use some techniques to develop the schedule and optimize it. And schedule is one of the very important activity or one of the very important artifacts which is connected with almost all the knowledge areas, and therefore you see the list of input is too big. Almost every knowledge area contributes something here. In fact, schedule is the artifact which changes every time you open it. It may or may not change, but schedule is the most changing artifact on the project. So we use some tools and techniques, that is schedule network analysis. In fact, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, all are schedule network analysis techniques. Scheduling normally requires a tool. The outcome of this is project schedule, schedule baseline, and data which is supporting data to the schedule. So when we preparing the schedule analysis is something like we're talking about critical path, critical chain, because critical path is the path which is the longest path in the network, the project network diagram, and the short duration the project can complete. The longest path and the shortest duration to complete the project. What exactly we do? We calculate the float on each and every activity. What is a float? Float is a free time available on an activity by which activity can be delayed without impacting the project end date. That means if that activity can be delayed for a day and it does not impact the project end date, that means that activity has 1 day of float. An activity which cannot be delayed, if you delay it, it will impact the project end date, is normally called a critical activity, and the path which is passing through this activity is called critical path. So what we do, we calculate the float on each and every activity and connect those nodes or those activities which have zero float. That means if they are delayed, they directly impact the project end date. So we connect all the activities which have zero float, and the path we get is called critical path. There can be more than one critical path. There are 3 types of float. Commonly when we talk about float, it is total float. If free float is the float or is the available time on an activity by which the activity is delayed, it does not impact the next activity, not the project end date. So if B depends upon A, and A can be delayed by 1 day without impacting the start date of B, then A has 1 day of float. Project float is a free time or is a buffer which is added at the end of the project. A near critical path is also important. When we watch for critical path, all the activities on the critical path, because if they get delayed, it will impact the project end date. We also look at critical path, near critical path. Near critical path is the path which has a tendency to or tending towards the critical path. Means if something happens, a small delay, any activity on a near critical path will make that path critical, then it is a near critical path. That means the activities on near critical path maybe a day or 2. So if any get delayed by 1 day, that the path will become critical. Now how we calculate critical path? The critical path can be calculated very simple mathematics. You see every node has this type of thing. So every node, D stands for duration, F stands for float, ES stands for early start, EF stands for early finish, late start, that is LS, and LF is late finish. How these will calculate it? we do a forward pass, means we start from start and go to end. And when we calculate, it is calculated ES and EF, early start and early finish. Once we calculate ES and EF for all the activities going from, that is normally called forward pass, from start to end through this, then we do a backward pass, that is from end to start. And then at that time we calculate LS and LF, late start and late finish. Let me give you an example. Like here D is starting at 0 and will, because the duration is 3, it will complete on 3. One minute. Okay, what we need to do, whatever. Okay, I think the PPT got hanged. So now look at this. Let's try a forward pass. This is 0 and plus 3 is 3. Then E depends upon D, so it becomes 3 starting at 3 plus 9, 12, and then it is F depend upon E, but F also depend upon B. So we need to check this out. Now from this is 0 again, 6. This depends upon 2, A and D. So we will take them bigger figure here. Right? This is natural, because even if D finishes on third day, B cannot start until the A finishes. And this is 13. So this is 13 and this is 12. So we will take the bigger figure. And plus 6. Right? And then we come here, it is 19 and 26. And here it is 26 and 33. Right? And if I come over here, it is 13 plus 11. That is 24. So the duration of the project is 33. Now we do a backward pass, and the backward pass is this is finishing at 33, so we will take the 33 here, minus 7, 26, same here, 26, 19, same here, 19, 13, same here. So this will be 13, because this is 13, right? Minus 9, 4, 4, this is finishing at 4, this is 1. Now come over here, there are two successor of B. So we need to calculate this first. So this can finish at 33. So that is the 33 which will take over here. Minus 11, it is 22. Now there is a contest between 13 and 22. So we'll take the smaller figure at this time when we are doing a backward pass. When we are doing a forward pass, we take the bigger figure. When we are doing a backward pass, we take the smaller one. 6. Then this is finishing at 6 and this is 0. Which one is the critical path? Okay, sorry. Let's calculate float. 6 minus 6, 0. 13 minus 13, 0. Now 33 minus 24 or 22 minus 13, 9. And here it is 0. What about this? 4 minus 3, 1. 1. This is 0. This is 0. So we will connect the activities which are having 0 float. And this will give us a critical path. So what is critical path? A, B, F, G, H. Is equal to 30. Now we have a float here 1. So this path is a near critical path. Because the float is just 1. If this get delayed by 1 day, E becomes critical. Because the float becomes 0 here. This is, you have a luxury. You can delay it up to 9 days. Right? Make sense? Now the next method is a critical chain method. Critical chain works on critical path. In critical path, what we did, we didn't care for our constraints. Constraint means if this activity need some niche skill, despite float is 9, this may be critical for us. Or if any of this activity needs some special skills or some special conditions are there, some constraint is there that make these activities risky, even though the float is there. So that's what considered in critical chain. You say have the critical path. Now load the complete network diagram with the constraint and see that what is critical now. So this resource constraint critical path is called critical chain. Now what is the what is suggested here is that you should have some buffer. That is a contingency buffer UK in terms of time. And that buffer should be distributed at strategic places. What are the strategic places? Milestones. So just before milestone. So if suppose you have a 33 days duration of your project, you took say 5 days for buffer. Okay, or let's say 6 days for buffer, that is 20% of that. Maybe a little more, but for just consider here. Now what you did, you see that F is important for me, or say G is important for me. So I add buffer sum here, 2 days buffer here, and delayed by, instead of 19th, I will start on 21st. So adding 6 days buffer will make the total project as 39 days, not 33 days. 33 is the minimum time you can complete the project. You will add 6 days buffer, it will become 39 days. So what you commit to your customer is 39 days. Now you add 2 days here. That could be like, this is your milestone. If there is another milestone, you can add there. Another thing, what he suggests, that if a non-critical activity is feeding into a critical activity, you add buffer as there as well. So I will say 2 days buffer you can add here. And it suggests that at the end of the project also, please add some buffer. So I add some buffer here. So my project will become 39 days, not 33 days. And I have added some buffer at strategic places. Now holding my commitment is much easier now. Maybe you do not have 20% buffer in your project. Maybe if it is only 10%, you may be adding 1 day here and 1 day here and making it 36 days. And this way it helps us to deliver milestone on time. It helps us to maintain the criticality of the critical path, sanctity of the critical path, and delivering on our commitment. Okay, I think there's some questions. So this is the section mostly applicable on MS project. Yeah, critical path is one of the important thing which MS projects identify, because that is where we need to focus on. But critical chain is a little different than what is available in MS project. MS project is normally talk about critical path. I mean to more develop schedule. Yes. Time management is about developing schedule. That is, time management means we are preparing for MS project, the pre-preparation of MS project. Pre-preparation, the data required for preparing a project, MS project. That is the background of that. Okay, so additional buffer called feeding buffer are added at the each point where the dependent task is not on critical path feeds into critical chain. Okay, then another thing is this resource leveling. Resource leveling is like somewhere that the resources are over allocated, means they have 8 hours a day, but they are allocated 12 hours, 10 hours or 16 hours. If that is the case in your project, then your project may not complete on time. What you have to do, you have to ensure that everywhere the allocation of the resource is either 8 hours or less than 8 hours. So if you have somewhere resources allocated more than 8 hours, you have to label them. So if you label them, the resource allocation will come down 8 hours or below 8 hours, but your project length will expand. the project duration will increase. But resource labeling will help to minimize the over allocation. Okay, now our resources are available, that is maybe sometime unpredictable, but we know sometime that we have a constraint in availability of the resources. If we that what if scenario is called simulation. And simulation, the Monte Carlo simulation is the most common thing. So in the simulation, it's a resource intensive exercise, because we actually create multiple schedule instead of one. So there is a feature in Microsoft Project, active inactive. So you network diagram like this. Okay. So you want to make some changes here. Instead of this activity, you try other activity, try another activity. So you, instead of this, you say, let's go here, from here to here, and then here to here. Another path is this way possible. So in MS Project, you can inactivate this, and activate this. So you can have all three activities there, all three activities here. You can activate one at a time. And then you can see that how the schedule looks like. So simulation means you are almost creating the complete schedule in a multiple options, and then seeing that which schedule will be best for you. Or you also have to identify that what is the probability of completing the project on a specific date or in a specific duration. So if 3 out of 5 times, 33 days, it means the most likely the project will finish on 33 days. Another thing which we say is the criticality index of any activity. Means if you have prepared schedule 5 times, out of 5, all 5 times there is one activity which has always be on the critical path, then that means that the criticality index of that activity is very high. Out of 5 times, 3 times the activity was on critical path. If some activities are on critical path or sometime on critical path, then the criticality index is not so high. Is the float LS minus ES? Yes. Or ES minus LF minus EF. Either of that. Both will be same. So we apply leads and lags. We learn about it. Normally for compressing the schedule, two strategies are used. One is called crashing, another called fast tracking. The crashing means adding resources on a critical activity to compress the duration. So there is an activity of 10 days. There are 3 people working on it. You add one more person and complete the activity in 8 days. So you save 2 days. What is the drawback of this strategy is that you increase the cost of the project. The fast tracking is, as I said, the discretionary dependency and mandatory dependency. Fast tracking is another way when some activities which are in parallel, we re-evaluate their dependency and see that if we can do them in parallel. In this way, we try to compress the schedule. Right? This can only possible in the discretionary dependency. Mandatory dependency you cannot change. Now, the drawback of the fast tracking is that the risk increases on the project because you compromise the reason for which you kept them in sequence. Okay, you get schedule baseline. That is the one of the important outcome of the develop schedule project. Develop project schedule, get the project schedule and some data which will be supporting your schedule. Now, controlling schedule and developing schedules are not very different. Only thing is that you do the things again and again. So you define in the schedule management plan, you define the frequency at which you will revisit your schedule. And at that time, you seeing that is my schedule looking good? Is any critical path is changing? Any activity need any attention? And keep optimizing your schedule. So control schedule is, if you look at this activity, these tools and techniques are more or less same. One of the things which you see that you measure the variance. So you get work performance data, that is the actual performance. You feed this into the, you add actuals, plan is already there. Microsoft project will give you a variance, that actual plan versus actual, and that is called work performance information. You get schedule forecast. Schedule forecast is a part of EVM. So when we learn EVM in earned value management, in cost management, we'll discuss this. Okay, so this is control schedule is more or less, I think we discussed about it. Only addition here is actual versus, we talk about actual start, etc., and also measure the variance. All tools are same. Any question? In the cost management, we will talk about how to prepare the cost management plan, estimate, budget, and then controlling the cost. Estimating, budgeting, and controlling the cost is, so the whole focus is that how we can deliver project within estimated cost, within budgeted cost. So first we have to prepare a cost management plan, estimate the cost, determine the budget of the project, and then continuously control on the cost of the project. 3 are plan and 1 is control. So in the cost management plan, we actually establish some rules or some basic functions of the costing. Something like level of accuracy. At what accuracy we need to keep. Normally it is 2 decimal place. Unit of measure. In case of effort, it is the hours, days, week, or in case of money, it is currency. In which currency we are going to maintain this. Organization procedures links. What is the control accounts? Normally, control accounts help us to allocate the cost or allocate the budget appropriately. So in the big projects, if the contribution is coming from several functions, then the cost may be distributed to several different functions. The control threshold, we also have to define what is acceptable deviation. We take a control and see that what can be done to maintain the variation within control thresholds. So in the current cost management plan, besides these basic things, we also talk about what is the measurement criteria, where we will put control accounts in WBS at a strategy basis. What is the measurement techniques? Suggested technique is earned value. We'll learn about it. What will be the reporting format and at what frequency? That is how whenever the how comes, you think about management plan. So estimating cost, if you look at the tools and techniques, you will see that they are same tools which are used in duration estimates. There are some additional tools here are reserve analysis, cost of quality, vendor bid analysis. These three are additional and we'll talk about them. The output of this is cost estimate and the data which supports your estimates. That is the basis of estimates. Only three types of estimate. When you are about to start the project or just started the project. At that time, when you estimate, you know little about the project, your estimates are rough order of magnitude, ROM, and the variation can go up to plus minus 50%. When you are in the planning phase, you have done some understanding of the project, you have learned more about the project. At that time, when you suggest the budget for your project, those estimates are called budget estimate, and the variation is expected to be minus 10% to plus 25%. And when you actually have done a lot of planning, also started some execution, and you are estimating at that point of time, your estimate should be more definitive and called definitive estimates, and the variation should be around 10 plus minus 10%. So for the example purpose, you need to remember that rough order of magnitude are normally at initiation or before that, plus minus 50%, budget estimate at planning, and the range is minus 10% to plus 25%, and definite estimates is after planning or during execution, and the variation should be plus minus 10%. We also learn about that what are the different type of the cost. What is direct cost? What is indirect cost? The cost which is incurred directly for the purpose of the project is direct cost. So the resources who are working on the project is a direct cost. Anything you have bought for use on the project is a direct cost. Training are normally confusing. So if it is a generic training on a regular basis, organization is conducting for keeping their resources up to the latest updates, that is a normal trainings, and they are not organized specific for the project purpose. They are indirect cost, because a factor of that cost will go to your project also. But if your project need a specific training, for example, you are going into a financial, first time taking the financial projects to execute, and you don't have much knowledge about the financial sector, you organize a domain training for financial sector. that is being organized specific for your project, the whole cost will be all the complete cost will go to your projects and your projects. That is the cost which we call direct cost. So there are two types of cost in the resources also. There is resource direct cost and resource overhead cost. So overhead cost is normally an indirect cost which many times include facilities available at the workplace, any bench cost kind of thing, like you have a bench in your organization, the free resources, a pool of free resources, but organization is incurring cost on those people. So a small factor of that will be loaded onto the each resource. So when the resource you take on the project, it has its own cost plus is an overhead cost, which is having the bench cost, the facility cost, electricity, the land, or any other kind of facility which is available. A factor of that cost is actually there as an overhead on the each resource of your project. It also be differently because different organization may account such kind of cost differently. So that is a direct cost and indirect cost. The variable cost and the fixed cost. The variable cost is the cost which is continuous cost, that is you can manage on the project. So if you like resource cost is a variable cost because if you reduce the number of resources, your cost will come down. But the fixed cost is a cost which if you incurred, whatever happened to your project, that cost is already incurred and you can't change it. So if you need some licenses of the software to start some project, you bought those licenses, then once you have spent this money, this is fixed for the project because it's not changing over time. Equipment cost, setup cost, these are all fixed costs because they do not change how long your project is, how many people are working on your project. They need to be incurred and that will completely credited or debited to your project. So we learned a little bit about reserve analysis in the schedule, that in terms of buffers, time buffer we're talking about. The same here is about cost buffer. So reserve analysis normally talk about two: contingency and the other is management. So contingency buffer and management buffer. This is for the risk, to address risk on the project, and this is for the unknown things. We have not identified them, but if they happen, then the management is a coming picture. So contingency buffer is factored into the project budget, but not the management buffer. We also look at the cost of quality because maintaining the quality of the product need investment, and those investments should also be factored into the total cost of the project. Vendor analysis is a tricky thing. Sometimes, especially in government, they need to execute some project they have no idea about. They don't have any idea how it will be executed. They don't know how much cost to be incurred. So what they do, they float a tender or they float a RFP, request for proposal, and ask vendors to bid for it. So vendors will tell you that how they're going to execute this project, what technology they will use, and what is the quote. Then they compare all the bids has come to them and try to identify that how much cost is right for this project and how this project will be executed. That is called vendor analysis. There is a question here. There could be change in initial cost estimate while executing the project, which leads to variance. knowing that there is no change in requirement, how do we change the cost? Now, you will change the cost. If your estimates are changing, they will come as variance. But you need to spend the money what is required. So therefore, we maintain the contingency buffer. So till the time if you are using contingency of the project, I think people may not ask you questions. But if you go beyond contingency, the management may still sanction you budget, but there will be a lot of questions which you need to answer. And all these things will come as variance. And therefore, there is a threshold we talk about in the cost management plan, that how much is acceptable limit, and after that you need to take action. So maybe a 3%, 4% cost escalation is happening, it's fine. But after that, maybe it becomes 5%, you have to take action to see that why it is escalating and look for the ways to reduce it. Many places, even organization give incentive to the project team to save the contingency money. So they say whatever the money you have 10% contingency in your project. If you save this contingency, some part of that contingency will be distributed to the project team. The project team can use it whatever the way they want. So many times, to encourage people to maintain the cost, such kind of measures are also taken by the management. Now, determining budget means the cost of the project. Now you know that this is the total money which is required for the project. After that, you have schedule like this. Depends upon this. So you prepare a schedule of, let's say, couple of months, and in this month you have this much of cost, in this much of cost, in this much of cost, in this maybe this much, in this much. So you will get this kind of line, right? So based on this, you allocate your cost. So time phased allocation of the budget is called, time phase allocation of your cost is called budget. So budget means how you are going to incur the total money which is you allocated for your project on the project. So if you have $100 to spend, how are you going to spend this $100? $10 here, 20 here, 20 here, maybe 10 again here, 5 here, or you have saved some money kind of things. Fine. So this allocation is time phase allocation of the cost is called budget. So time is important thing in budget. Budget is not without time. Without time, budget is an allocation. Is the amount allocated to your project. So your estimate is actually an allocation, required allocation for your project. So if you have estimated that my project is of 500K, the budget will be that how you're going to spend this 500K on the project. That will be called budget. Therefore, the aggregation and distributing that money is important. So how do we do this cost aggregation? In that, we take the estimates of each activity. This will give us the cost of the work package. Now, at a strategic place in the work breakdown structure, we put some control account. So maybe this section of work package may be coming from some different department, this may be coming from different department, or this is some other thing is contributing. According to that, you can put some control. Now this here you are seeing the control account at the same level, but in WBS, a real WBS, this control account could be at different places. So idea is that you estimate the cost of each activity, then aggregate it to the work package, then aggregate it to the total project estimates, then you add to the contingency reserve. Project estimate plus contingency reserve become your cost baseline. Over and above, there is a management reserve which I say we allocated for the risk which we have not identified or we fail to identify. So something is rare, only sometime happens, we do not identify them as project risk, then we do not allocate contingency reserve according to that. Such things are taken care of by management reserve. And normally imagine why the management reserve is not part of the cost baseline of this project, because management reserve normally take care of multiple projects, not one project. Okay, and then we allocate this money based on the schedule, our project schedule. I will just show you, can come back here. So this is what it is, and this happened because you have this much here, this much here, this much here, this much here. Then it comes down. Okay. So this plus this is this, this plus this plus this is this, this plus this plus this is this. So this, so this. So BAC is your total budget for the project, the budget at completion or budget required to complete the project. So this line is actually your budget or cost baseline. Time phase budget is your cost baseline. Now let's talk about reserve analysis. We talk about expert judgment. We also talk about the fund limit reconciliation. This is normally happen where the project has to buy some resources, like buy steel, you have to buy several, you have to give it to the contractor. So you need fundings from the account department. Based on your budget, you decide that when you need money from account department, and that is based on that account department reconcile the limits, that when you need, if you ask more than that, the account department will ask you to get approval, etc., etc. So output of this is cost baseline and the project funding requirement. What time you need money from the account department to buy your resources for the project. Okay, the last portion of this is the cost control. And cost control is normally done by earned value management. So delivering the main idea of the cost control is delivering the project within project budget. project management plan, project funding requirement, and project performance data. That is the actual data which you have collected during execution. On value management, this, not this. These are all three part of the value management. We will see that. And the output is work performance information, that is plan versus actual. We have cost forecast. We also have schedule forecast, but that is gone into schedule development. Change request. If there is a variance, there will be a change request. So let's look at what is unvalue management. In the unvalue management, there are three things which are important: the planned value, earned value, and actual cost. What happens in EVM? Everything, plan, progress, or actual the activities, everything is translated into cost. So suppose this is your project. Okay. Now you have scheduled like this: T1, T2, T3, T4, and T5. 5 tasks you have scheduled. The cost of T1 is, say, let's say $10. This is, say, that's $20. This is $10. This is $15, or this is, say, $10. Now, if the time, this time is, suppose this is M1, month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, and month 5. Suppose you are checking your cost at month 2, after month 2 is completed. Okay. So how much is planned till this time? T1 and T2. So the value of T1 and T2 is actually P1, PV, planned value. The value of the planned work. What is planned till 2 months? T1 and T2, and the cost of T1 is $10, cost of T2 is $20, so PV become $30, right? Now if T1 has finished completely and T2 has finished 50%, by this time, if I look at this, T1 is completed, but T2 is 50%. So how much I have achieved? I have achieved the value of T1 and 50% of the T2. So how much is the cost of T1? $10. For T2 is $20, but I have achieved only 50%. That means I have achieved about $10 only. So the value of the earned work, the work which is completed, accomplished, is $20. And suppose I have spent as of now $25. As of now, here till this date, I have spent $25. Then my actual cost is 25, which I actually spent. This is, everything is based on these three things. What is BAC? Total cost of this. 10 plus 20 plus 10, 30 plus 45 plus 55. So total BAC is become 55. That is the budget at completion. That is the planned value at completion. That is the value of the work planned. Because it is completion, so complete work. Value of the complete work. Estimated completion means, now if you see we have a deviation here. T2 is completed only 50% and we have incurred $25. So now I will estimate that how I will do remaining work, means 50% of T2, T3, T4, T5. That is called, and if I calculate the cost, this will be the forecast that at what, though the BAC is 55, the EAC could be different, maybe 65. Though I originally planned for $65, sorry, $55, but it may take now $65 because I am progressing slower. I supposed to complete T2 by second month, but I didn't. Estimate to complete means the value of the remaining work, that is T5, T4, T3 and 50% of T2. That may be how much, maybe $40 or something like that. Whatever it is. So it is the remaining, the cost of the remaining work. That is again a forecast. Variance at completion means this minus this. Budgeted completion minus estimated completion, that is the variance. We can calculate everything here. From earned value, if we minus the planned value, we'll got schedule variance. Similarly, from earned value, if we minus the actual cost, we'll get the cost variance. So in the previous case, it was how much? It was 30, right? 30 and 20. So it was 20 minus 30, so 10 minus 10. So if it is 0, then we are on schedule. If it is greater than 0, we are ahead of schedule. If it is less than 0, which is here, we are behind schedule. This is EV means 20 minus 25. Actual cost, it is minus 5. That means if it is 0, it is within budget. Less than 0, below budget, underrun. Greater than 0, it is overrun. So here it is an overrun of $5. Similarly, we calculate rate, at what rate we are running. So this is a schedule performance index, which is EV upon PV, that is 20 upon 30 is equal to 2 upon 3. It's something like 1 point or 0.1 something, 0.6 or something, 0.66.
0.67.
0.67. It is EV, it is 20 upon 25. It would be, sorry, 25. So it is 0.8. So if it is equal to 1, we are on schedule. We are less than 1, we are behind schedule. We are greater than 1, we are ahead of schedule. Similarly here on the CPI. If we are equal to 1, we are on cost. Greater than 1, we are underrun. Less than 1, we are overrun. Now it is TCPI. TCPI means at what rate you should go now to complete in original budget. Okay, if you are following cricket, then it is something called rate and something is asking run rate. So TCPI is something called asking run rate. So whatever remaining is left, this will give us that what rate we should move so that we complete the project within budget. This is TCPI. Estimate to complete means this is EAC minus AC. You can get VAC is BAC minus EAC And there are three ways we can calculate EAC based on the condition in the project or situation in the project. When I am halfway, when we are calculating this on the second month, if I find that my original estimates were incorrect, the variation is too high and I need to re-estimate the project, then the first formula will apply. That is the actual cost I have already incurred. I can't go take it anywhere. The remaining I will re-estimate and then add it to the AC will give me EAC. I'm running at 0.8, rate of 0.8. That means every $1 I invest, I get only 80 cents out of it. Right? With respect to time, every day I spend, I get only 80, like 8, if it is 10 hours a day, then only 8 hours of work I could able to achieve. That is SPI. CPI, I invested $1 and the value I got out of it is only 80 cents. If I continue at this rate, means my variation, I have no other way to remove them. That means my CPI will maintain, then second formula will apply. I simply factor the CPI into BAC. I divide the CPI with CPI, BAC by CPI to get EAC. Now third action is, as of now there were problems, we have deviated, but whatever work is left, I will complete in the estimated cost. That is the third one. So total cost becomes cost only incurred plus cost of the remaining work, estimate of the remaining work, original estimate. This will become EAC. Third, it means it is similar to that, the fourth one, but we have counted SPI as well, which is nearly. Now let me explain this once again, a little graphical. We have cost baseline, like from the determined budget. We are supposed to follow this. Shrikant, can you mute yourself? Okay. So this is a cost baseline. We're supposed to follow this line. At some point of time, we are measuring the project progress, and we saw that our cost is higher than we supposed to. So this is the actual cost, the line of actual cost. This is the line of actual achievements, the value of the work we achieved. We supposed to be here. In spending we are here, and in earning we are here. This is PV, this is AC, and this is EV, right? Now, what is SV? Schedule variance, EV minus PV. We supposed to achieve this much, but we achieve this much. So this difference is our schedule variance. What is cost variance? Because we have earned this much, we supposed to spend this much only, but we spend this much. So difference between this and this is cost variance. right? Got? Any question? Well, if everything is understood well, so let's do this exercise. A project comprising of 4 modules is to develop. Each module takes 1 month to develop with estimated budget of $5,000. Modules are planned to be developed in sequence. The status of the project at the end of 3rd month is presented below, in which the module 1 is completed. The actual cost incurred is 5,000. Module 2 is also completed, but is completed late, and we spend more, that is 6,000. The module 3 is supposed to be complete, but it's not complete. It is half done, that is 50% complete, and we spent $3,000. We need to calculate all our parameters. Can you calculate this? So I give you a couple of minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes. I think you can do that. It's simple calculation, plus, minus, multiplication, division. If you have any question anytime, please buzz me. On EVM calculation, you will always find 3, 4, or 5 questions in the exam. But let me keep the problem in front of you. You can use your handouts or pen and paper to calculate this. When you are done, please write this into the chat box that you are done.
Schedule variance also will be in the form of value, or will it be in the form of months?
No, in the form of value only. Everything is in dollar in EVM.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you.
Any question on this? Or all have got it right? The BSE means total budget. Okay. Should we move ahead? Move ahead? Okay, so if you have seen this whole calculations, you're not only getting your current status, but you're also able to make forecast. TCPI you can calculate by remaining work by divided by the remaining work divided by the remaining budget. That will give you TCPI. Again, a part of the forecast. You can do variance analysis. Trend analysis is normally about over a period of time. So you do project management software is anyway required for such things. Reserve analysis with respect to the cost, the contingency and the management reserve we have discussed about. Work performances permission is nothing but all the calculations which we have just done. Project management plan. Yes. So your cost management process is done. No question? Okay, we have some time. Maybe Sai, if you can tell about that question. I think out of 30, one question get disclosed and will not be a problem. So let's discuss that question.
Yes, Prakash, give me a minute so I can log in and I can let you know exactly the question.
Okay.
Vivek, in
Yeah.
the meantime, I have a question.
Yeah.
What is that we are updating the organizational processes as an output of this process?
See, every project has some learnings. Okay. And this may lead to improvement in the current processes. So it is not only output of this process, many control processes have similar output.
So you mean to say it's like a continuous update happening to the lessons?
Right. Maybe suppose you
But
have a
that
standard
should
of
happen at the
10%
end of-
contingency. But on a regular basis you are finding that the contingency required is less or more. You may go and change your standard.
Okay. But we will be doing it at the end of the project, right? Lessons learned. So
Yes, the
waiting for
output
that, or
means your learning is there. You can update them whenever you want. You can update them. Yes.
okay, got it.
But this control pressure can result into change in the current procedures, policies of the organization.
Prakash,
Yeah.
yeah, is there any way we can go back and see our the questions which we answered right and wrong?
Yeah, why not? You can review them. No? There is a
Yes.
when you go
Oh, yeah, I got it. I got it. So I remember the question was about Delphi.
Delphi technique.
Pardon?
Delphi technique.
Yeah, the last one. The last question, 30.
Okay. Okay. Brainstorming, Delphi technique, and affinity diagrams are part of which of the following tools or techniques? So they are not group activity techniques.
Yes, but I think in our handout, I saw it differently. So can you go to the slide number? For us, it's page number 103. For you, I'm not sure. It should be 519 for you.
1 minute. Let me.
51919.
Scope management.
So under the heading estimate activity duration, tools and techniques.
Under which process?
I can give you the exact, so it will be easy for you to figure it
No,
out.
give me the process name. Collect requirement, define a scope, create WBS. Which one?
Past that.
But under which process? It would be in tools and technique, right?
Yeah, estimate delivery activity duration, tools and techniques. The next slide.
We need to time management. Okay. No, scope management, right? Let me search where is the Delphi.
It's way before the developing schedule.
Group activity techniques, the Delphi technique. Is this?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the
So remember,
confusion?
we were doing that math yesterday, the same, kind of math. The next slide after that, estimate activity duration, which comes under tools and techniques. It reads like that, group decision making techniques. Under that it comes brainstorming, Delphi, nominal group techniques. So,
No, but see, decision making is different, and the group activity is different, right?
yeah, I agree. So the question here is, see, if you go back to the question, brainstorming, Delphi technique, and affinity diagram are part of which tools or techniques, right?
Right.
So the four choices are obviously A and C are out of question. Group decision making technique, and the fourth one is group activity techniques.
Right. So if you look at here, group activity technique, the brainstorming, Delphi and affinity. That is the right answer, group activity technique. In the decision making technique, it is a unanimity, majority, plurality and the dictatorship.
No, I think I see different here. In the group decision making techniques, you have mentioned brainstorming, Delphi, nominal group techniques. And the next point you mentioned is useful to improve estimate accuracy and commitment to the
Any other place also we have mentioned.
It will be easy. It will be easy for you if you go to the handouts you shared to us and go to page number 102.
Okay, give me a moment. What is the page number?
103.
Okay, you're talking about this. I think it is something. I need to look into. I think this could be a mistake also.
Okay.
Scenario based.
Yeah, when you come to the later part, I figured a lot of them are scenario based. Initially,
Right.
it's all in conceptual.
Yeah, they are organized like that. Initials are simple. Okay, so I just show you. This is a very simple exercise. So I will send you the templates for project charter, scope statement, and what I expect from you, the scope, the project, preparing a project charter for this project, preparing a scope statement, preparing a schedule, and preparing a budget for this project. So for schedule, I'm not going to give you any kind of template. You can use Excel sheet, you can use Microsoft Project or any other tool to prepare your schedule. Similarly, for budget, there is no template. What we need is how your cost is distributed over the period of time in the project. From the project in the project life cycle, how your cost is distributed. That is what budget is all about. So there is no template for schedule and cost, but for project charter and scope statement, I will send you the templates, with the same template which I displayed to you yesterday. Okay, one thing is that this problem is very generic, like launch a new mobile phone. Now, what kind of mobile phone is not mentioned here. You can decide what kind of mobile phone you want to launch or you think should be considered here, and your details should be consistent with that. Okay.
Prakash, you mean the features of the mobile, or what do you mean by the what do you mean by that? The features of the mobile or make of?
No, like you will talk about objectives. In the project charter, you will talk about objectives. What are the objectives of the project, of the mobile phone launch? Now, you can launch a mobile phone, a smartphone, maybe targeted for the young ones. You can launch a mobile phone which is very basic, maybe targeted for elderly people.
Yeah.
Okay, there could be variations. Your objective will change based on that.
Yeah, obviously. So that's what I asked,
Yeah.
basically with the features like smartphone or the regular ones, or maybe having
decide.
something. Yeah.
You decide, document it into the assumptions, and see that all the other details are inconsistent with that.
Okay.
Okay, many times people mix up, so I still give, that's why I'm giving the heads up or the caution that this could be a problem. So make some assumptions, what you are doing, and then have your details consistent with those assumptions. Okay.
Okay.
This I will email to you. Milestones are given, some giving, resources are given there. So detail wise it's fairly simple, but if you keep a consistency and focus on that, what objectives should be there, are these objectives measurable, or these objectives are very definitive or not, these things will matter here actually. Right? So besides 3 quizzes, there's one more work. I think it shouldn't take more than an hour for you to do this exercise. You can take more time, but I think ideally it should take not more than 1 hour.